Hello, I'm Sister Kathy Sheehan, and I welcome you to our first episode of Chez Nous at Chanticleer. As most of you know, the literal translation of Chez Nous is with us. As we come to embrace the wider meaning, it is at the home of. So we are welcomed during this season of social distancing to the home of the Chanticleer community. As we all are spending more time at home, cooking creatively can be a way to unite us. We certainly are familiar with the wisdom scripture, "Wisdom sets a table." Today we have Sister Kathy Murtha and Sister Diane Capozzi as chefs in their home. Sister Kathy will walk us through a recipe for an apple squash soup. As we enter into the season of fall, soup is both nourishing and comforting food to prepare and to share.
Hello. I have this wonderful recipe that one of my friends from Connecticut gave me years and years ago. And I take it out every year at this time because it's such a wonderful, warm experience of soup and friendship with my friend, and also of all the other people that I've shared this recipe with. It's a very simple recipe. It takes a lot of preparation work, chopping up, but then once it's ready to go, it's ready to go. So this recipe starts by encouraging us to get some good, fresh squash. Today I'm taking the easier way out. I actually bought squash that was already prepared. It comes like this in the supermarket, and these chunks are a little too chunky to put in, so I cut them up, make them all like bite-sized pieces, and then put them into the pot. The pot is not quite empty. The pot has some broth in it. So this recipe calls for about 6 cups of broth. And anywhere, this is about 5 cups of the squash. So that's what we do. We just cut up the squash and add it into this pot, into this bowl while we wait. And then once it's in the pot and it starts cooking, of course it gets softer. But this just gives you a sense of what I've learned about size and about texture. I'm the kind of person who likes a bit of texture. I'll puree it a little bit maybe, but I certainly will keep its own texture. So we have 5 cups of this, 6 cups of broth, and then we have an apple, 3 apples actually, and they're chopped. This time I broke them up into medium-sized pieces and then put them through the chopper. And then the third major ingredient is onion. And this is about one really large, a little more than that, onion. So it's all proportional. Squash, apple, and onion. And I'm going to add them to the pot now. The broth has been warming up slowly, and I'll add it to the big pot, which gives plenty of room for all of our ingredients. First, the squash. And I try to be careful not to have it splash because it is warm. And the big advantage of having small pieces is that it cooks faster. So we'll start with the squash, give it a stir. Then I'll add the apple. And again, just blend it in. Blend it in for a while. And you can see that some of these pieces are different sizes and shapes, and that's okay, because once they all get heated together, they'll sort of blend in. And now the onion. See how nice and full that looks? So now what I do is let this get nice and warm and begin to bubble up. And once it comes to a boil, which might take us as many as 10 or 15 minutes, I'll come back and adjust everything. But this is step one to the process for this soup. We are now into step two. And step two is the adding of the butter and the flour, which will add some body to the broth. And I put it on over the heat, and now I'll just let it melt gently. And it will melt quite quickly. And then I will add the flour, which makes what some folks would call a roux. It adds body to the soup. Now, I'm the kind of person who likes to use real butter for things like this. So this is whole butter. And you know, for those of you with health issues or who are watching cholesterol, if you want to use margarine, that's fine. Once it starts to melt, it goes pretty quickly. And a whisk, tiny whisk like this, just gives it a little push, gets it going. What I enjoy while I'm making this is the aromas. And unfortunately, that's something we can't send out your way. But the smell of the onion and the smell of the squash and the onion, very good. The apple, Okay, now it's quite melted. And I will put a half a cup of flour gently into this and stir it and incorporate it as I go. If you do it gently, you wind up with no lumps. And it makes it very smooth. And you see how when you do it like this, it just incorporates. Okay, now it's sort of coming to a boil, so that's time to turn it off and to let it set, to rest a while, and it solidifies a little bit. So that's part 2. So we'll take another little break and be back for part 3. We're now back for our, well, not last stage, because the last stage is we get to eat the soup. We're back to our next to last stage soup, which is, as you can see, the ingredients have cooked down, have become a real soup. And now I am adding to them, to this space, which I had kept warm in the crock pot, just so it would maintain its heat. So I'm adding that roux that we had, the butter and the flour, to help thicken this even more. And as always, when you do a soup of this nature, how thick you want it depends on your own tastes. So this is quite thick. Some of you might want to add a little more chicken broth. I'm going to add a little more herb de Provence, just to give it a touch, a fresh flavor. And now, this soup is good to go. We're going to enjoy it, and I hope if you try it out, you and your family and friends will likewise enjoy the warmth of homemade soup. Now comes the moment we've all been waiting for. We have this wonderful, rich soup. It's warm. It's wonderful. And we also have some chives right from our backyard. Just a few to add color and a dash of other flavor. And we also have some roasted pumpkin seeds, which are perfect for the season also. So may yours turn out as well.
And now it's time to taste the soup. The best part.
You know me, I have to smell it.
Oh, it's delicious.
Oh, yes.
I hope that this is enough that you will tune in for the next episode of Chez Nous at Chanticleer. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Diane.
And thank you too, Kathy.
Bon appetit.